This is the story of Escala. This is a project back in 2014. MAD Corporation invited us to go into a limited competition with some other architects for a new mixed-use tower in the Docklands. We were lucky, we won the comp, got the job, and then this started the process for the project that became known as Escala. There was a central kind of idea to the project, and that's bringing the city to the Docklands. And that kind of ran through all of our thinking and the approach to the project. So it's an island site in NewQuay, the northern part of the Docklands. It was pitched to us as an investor product project. It's not groovy on the promenade of the water. It's one back in. It was kind of quite built in. It's one of the last lots to be developed. It's an irregular island site, a full block, but we thought it had great opportunity. Really good solar aspect, and these sort of sneak views between some of the other buildings to the city and the water that had some real potential. So at that time, Docklands architectural thinking kind of on an urban design level looked like this. And we saw enormous potential in the Docklands, and in terms of bringing the city to the Docklands, this strategy was really what we worked through. We kind of were pulling apart what do we like about cities, what makes them special, why couldn't we pick up a chunk of Flinders Lane to Collins Street and all the things we like about it and drop it in the Docklands? Or what would you have to do to kind of make that work? So architecturally, this is what we ended up building, and the strategy, it's reasonably clear. So this is the ground floor plan, and really the strategy was about treating the podium as 6 distinct buildings. And so it was about saying, we talked about it as accelerated evolution, really. That we were going to use devices like scale and size and materiality and expression to try and activate the whole block, when in reality it's a car park centrally skinned with buildings. At the ground level it's commercial, and on the upper levels of the podium it's residential, and then it kicks back into the tower proper. There's 178 apartments in the tower, and there's sort of 2,500 square metres of commercial retail on the ground and in the front building. But anyway, the main moves, let's try and present it as a whole grouping of disparate, separate buildings. Let's put a laneway through it, because I'll go later about, there's really good things about laneways and what they offer in the city in terms of opportunities for scaling and programmatically what you can do. And the other thing we gave back was this northeast corner. That's open to the sky as well as the laneway, and that's a little kind of square or a piazza, and there was an opportunity there to look at desire lines from outside the site, how people might move through Escala, and opportunities to kind of collect those people, compress them, and try and get a bit of buzz going. So we've got the commercial, the residential, and the commercial foyers kind of feeding off that space. And the square's quite small. I'll zip you through it. So that's the building that fronts Docklands Drive. That's the commercial entry under the 379. And as you go around to the left of the building, that's just a close-up. This is the square. And when we get to the square, the scaling of things will really come down to a pedestrian level in terms of seating, the heights of things. And also there's a cafe that's going in July in that space, and that's going to front and activate and work off that northeast aspect. We've done a lot of hospitality, so it was like driving the program through those urban moves. That's a look down the laneway that separates the front building from the main building. So it's open to the sky, but there is a bridge on the upper level, that glazed link that links the office space from the front to the south. There's also, distinct, the detail is really expressed at ground level. You know, this is all hand-laid masonry. This is all really delicate steel windows, stained glass work, inlaid tile by ceramic artists. You know, there's kind of a lot going on. It's another shot of that laneway. It's scaled at the city scale. It's very much like being in part of Melbourne. Right, as you move around the podium, the distinct buildings, this is a kind of presents as a standalone apartment building that changes on the corner to a different kind of language. Even when we get around the back, things like substations and meter enclosures are presented as kind of discrete elements to maintain that kind of pedestrian scaled experience. This is, you know, when you turn the last corner, you come to a building that presents as a concrete panel and kind of breeze block thing. There are these sort of separator strips that run through to help, you know, articulate this idea of it being a whole lot of buildings, different buildings, independent, maybe even built at different times. So you can see the scaling there. You know, this kind of this breeze block building here, and then it goes to a little curtain wall, clear glaze building. 2 minutes, thanks. And then the brick building down the end. So we had a great builder on the project and a great team generally. And the effort was really about, this is all commercial entries and activity on this plan. And the fact that we've got active frontages, you know, all through, all of that in a very tight area that hasn't got active frontages. This is back to the laneway, and even that works in the tradition of Melbourne, where, you know, walk down Burke Street, you'll see really ornate buildings to the front, the sides are ornate, and you get round the back, and, you know, 18th century value management kicked in, and it's just sewer stacks and not much detail and servicing. Well, we're on a pretty tight budget for this one, and, you know, we've kind of adopted a similar strategy in that laneway in some areas, the back of the building. You know, that's this is really the story of Escala. This is the crafted sort of space in the foyers. You know, we worked with people we've worked for a long time in terms of artists and artisans doing steel work and tiles and stained glass, and we just took it to scale to a $100 million size project. So, you know, there's a kind of honesty in the materiality for a project in the Docklands, but we were just trying to really bring what we value about a crafted experience of city buildings to the Docklands. So that's the story of Escala.